Do we have the PowerPoint? Ah, perfect. Okay. I hope it's working.
Pull
Yeah?
this down for a bit more.
Okay.
No.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm here for the German siblings, and of course I'm going to talk about the German theologian, but it's not completely out of context. We will sing a German song later that is a very popular song, if not the most popular German hymn that was ever written. So I will talk a little bit about Dietrich Bonhoeffer and about his hymn By Gracious Powers or By Gentle Powers. In German it's Von guten Mächten. Bonhoeffer was a Protestant theologian and a Nazi resistance fighter. And he wrote the lyrics of the song that we will sing later in December 1944, while he was already imprisoned in Berlin. Originally, the text is a poem. It's not really a song. And it was written as a Christmas greeting to his fiancée and her family. Additionally, it's actually the last surviving theological text he wrote before his execution on April 9th in 1945 at a concentration camp. After his death, the poem became so popular because of its origins and yet hopeful message that it was set to music by several composers in a wide variety of languages. So in Germany it was actually voted in 2021 the most popular hymn, so that's why I said that. Can we go to the next? I hope you can read it. Yeah. Here you can see the chorus of the song. It is, by gracious powers so wonderfully sheltered and confidently waiting, come what may. We know that God is with us night and morning and never fails to greet us each new day. So, as I say, that's just the chorus, and I encourage you to also read the verses in English, as we will sing it later in German, because I think they can really be encouraging for you personally and also theologically. You can benefit from them. Yeah, I really did. Can have the next slide, so a little map. Bonhoeffer was born on 4th February in 1906 in Breslau in Germany, which is now Poland, so that's a map of today. And he was born into a large family. At age 14, he started to pursue his education in theology and studied in different German cities, in Berlin also, and there he defended his dissertation. At age 21, he went to complete his Doctor of Theology degree in Berlin and also worked there as a private lecturer and taught practical theology. And he also was in many different places in Europe as well. Maybe not many, but for example, he was in London for a while. But he returned to Germany and he developed theological positions against Hitler's influence on the church and worked on his major but unfinished work, Ethics. He joined the military resistance circles aiming to remove Hitler and was even actively involved in plans to overthrow the Nazi regime. In 1943 he was arrested and imprisoned, and he wrote many letters and papers from prison reflecting on theology and ethics and also on responsibility as a church. And also his famous poem By Gracious Powers was composed in imprisonment. We can have the next slide, please. Yeah. Here you can see different pictures of him, of his life. And he seems to have undergone a personal conversion during his life, and he changed from being a theologian that was primarily attracted to the intellectual side of Christianity to being a man that was dedicated to personal faith. And he also resolved to literally carry out the teachings of Christ revealed in the Gospels. So he was a key founding member of the so-called Confessing Church, in German Bekennende Kirche. That was a movement within German Protestantism in Nazi Germany to oppose the government-sponsored efforts, because they wanted to try to unify all the Protestant churches into a single pro-Nazi German evangelical church. And the Confessing Church opposed that. Yeah, therefore, he was arrested in a concentration camp and executed just a few days before end of the Second World War. Yeah, and it was only after the war that the Protestant Church discovered his theology, and it is still referred to a lot today, and he had a great impact on theology and also European theology in general. Also his theology is subject to diverse interpretations, and he has many different topics that he thematisiert, whatever, different topics, you know. For example, ideas about religionless Christianity, so just living out the commandments. He also argued that Christians should not retreat from the world, but act within it. And he believed that two elements are constitutive of faith, which is the implementation of justice and the acceptance of divine suffering. I just want to read to you one verse of the song because it fits very well to his topic of divine suffering, and it is: "And when this cup you give is filled to brimming with bitter suffering, hard to understand, we take it thankfully and without trembling, out of so good and so beloved a hand." Yeah, can we have? Yeah, perfect. That's perfect. Bonhoeffer's theology, but especially his life, are reflected in his poem By Gracious Powers, and as mentioned before, he wrote it in prison, so it's very surprising that he also writes so hopeful lines that are so hopeful and still so dark. The main themes of the song are like trust, suffering, community, but still God's presence in all of that. It's written in a first-person narrative, and it includes dark but also hopeful images, and they are alternating in the structure. We find something about eschatology there, about farewell and future, and also trust in invisible powers, so in God and especially the Holy Spirit, then probably. Yeah, his life is an impressive testimony to faith, despite massive opposition, and I think it raises questions for us, and we can ask how to express hope properly in the church despite issues we're facing also in Europe right now. War, migration, climate, and social justice are still topics, but of course different from Bonhoeffer's time, but still we can ask these questions. By Gracious Powers shows that hope is not just a cheap consolation, but rather a stance of resistance in the midst of fear and destruction. And I think that's what the song wants to show us. Finally, I want to give a current testimony. We need the last slide, please. You can see here the flyer of a musical that's currently played in Germany. about another pastor that lived during Bonhoeffer's time. His name is Paul Schneider, and he lived near Gießen, where we are studying actually. Dietrich Bonhoeffer actually regarded Paul Schneider as the first martyr of the confessing church, because he suffered not the same, but also died in a concentration camp. And because of his faith and his engagement in true Christianity despite the Nazi regime. And this musical is regularly performed in Germany. Not all over Germany, but still it's quite big. There's a large choir with hundreds of singers, and last October Michael and I could even sing in this choir, and it was amazing. There are thousands of people watching this musical, and I think that's a great and impressive testimony of that time. Not of that time, I mean that time was very bad, but of Christians who stand to their faith despite very bad opposition, and of faith in general, because there are also many non-believers in that musical. And I think we can learn encouraging things of these people who were steadfast in their faith. And I encourage you, if you don't understand German and sing the song later with us, then just read it in English, and I think you will get something out of it for you.